Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed between lectures, tutorials, reports, tests, quizzes, assignments, exams, everything due on the same week, seemingly on the same day, even in the same hour? What if I told you it didn't have to be this way? In today's video, I'm going to cover how I would easily plan my week without feeling totally overwhelmed. And I really can't stress this enough, but everyone is different. We all have different circumstances and we all have different ways of learning. What works for me may not necessarily work for you. So what you do have to do is cherry pick what works, leave behind what doesn't, and give it your best. Okay, I was exaggerating just a little bit, but I do remember struggling quite a bit in my first year of university. And here's why. In high school, my schedule was very structured. From 9 to 10 a.m., I had Class A. From 10 to 11, Class B. 11 to 12, it was Class C. Then lunch, then Class D, then Class E, then finally back home. Once I was home from, let's say, 4 to 6, I had homework. From 6 to 7 was dinner, 7 to 8 was piano, 8 to 9 was hanging out on the computer, and I would continue with my homework until it was time for bed. This was high school. University is a completely different beast. Simultaneously, you have more free time and also less free time than you've ever had in your entire life at the same time. If you're in university now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you ever feel like a frantic hot mess, one thing that I do that makes my life easier and also makes me feel like I am totally in control is I love to plug things into my calendar. So, check this out. There's this thing called cognitive load, and in very simple terms, it says that our brains can only hold so much information at once. So because I don't like making my life any harder than it needs to be, my first big tip to avoid overwhelm is to make my life easier by putting things into my calendar. So once it's there, I don't need to keep it in my brain anymore. It's written down, it's there, I can refer to it later. Ta-da! My brain is now freed up to do other, better, more important things. So you'll see here I've lined up a few tasks on the right side that I might have during a typical week at school. These aren't actual items, these are just for example. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up my Google Calendar, slot them in based on the times and days that I have. One thing I want to mention is that this isn't the most realistic scenario. What I would usually do, again to simplify my time and save energy, is I would write down due dates and deadlines as soon as I hear them, instead of having them annoyingly floating around in my brain. I absolutely do not trust my brain to somehow magically remember every important date, because if I had, let's say, 4 to 5 classes, a part-time job, extracurricular activities, a workout, and all the other random things that I have to do, there's no way I'm going to pile on and try to somehow keep all of those due dates in my brain. That just doesn't work for me. So you'll see what I'm doing here is I'm plugging things in on specific days and at specific times. I'm also setting reminders and notifications as needed. If I have a big exam coming up, maybe I want to set a reminder 2 days before, maybe even 1 day before, 30 minutes before. Even though it's unlikely that I'd forget that exam, I would still rather be over-prepared than be panicked. The next thing that I'm doing is I'm writing down subtasks related to those primary tasks. For this, I want you to imagine that your dream is to be an Olympic gymnast. If you're starting at ground zero and want to work your way up to Olympic status, you'd probably need to break this down first. So you may need to hit nationals first, and before nationals, it's regionals, so on and so forth. So what I'm doing here is I'm breaking down every single task. If I have a final exam in a couple of days, I probably want to schedule in a couple of study sessions beforehand, maybe 5 days before, maybe 10 days out, maybe the day before. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually plugging those study sessions into my calendar so that I don't leave it to chance. I have them booked into my calendar, so that means that I am holding myself accountable to that. So now that we've gone over a step-by-step about how to plug things into a calendar and schedule our time, the last thing left to do is to do the things. And this can be surprisingly hard, but I promise you, you can do hard things. Now don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not suggesting that we overwork ourselves to the point of burnout, but there is a quote by Jerzy Gregorek that says, "Hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life." And I think there is some truth to that. But first, let me know in the comments, what is your current favorite scheduling app or tool? Do you like old school, maybe paper and pen? Do you like Google Calendar? Maybe there's something else? I would love to know. By the way, if you liked today's Study With Me session and want to try another one, feel free to check out this other video. I think you might like it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, and maybe share with your friends. Until next time.